You wake up. No quest marker floating over your head. No yellow dot on a map telling you where to walk. No little arrow saying, go here, talk to this person. Your next dopamine hit is 400 meters northeast. Just a ceiling, and a phone, and 47 notifications, none of which are a quest. In Grand Theft Auto, if you don't know what to do, the game taps you on the shoulder. Press up on the D-pad. Boom, glowing blip. Go there, steal that car, feel something. In real life, you press up on the D-pad and nothing happens. You just stand in your kitchen holding a spoon, wondering why you walked in here in the first place. And the weirdest part? Your brain might actually prefer someone else telling it where to go. And maybe that's because there was a time when someone actually did. For most of your early life, someone else was designing the map. Think about how strange childhood actually was. Every September, someone handed you a new level. New classroom, new books, slightly harder enemies. One boss fight every few months, called an exam. Mission: go to school, complete homework, pass exam, level up. Everyone around you celebrated every time you cleared a stage. Report cards were basically loot drops. Your parents were the world's most enthusiastic hype squad, cheering for a B+ in geography like you just defeated a final boss. And if you survived 12 of these levels back to back, they put you in a strange robe, called your name out loud in front of hundreds of strangers and said, "Congratulations, you're free." Which sounds incredible. Until Monday. Eventually, childhood structured missions start disappearing. And for a lot of people, one giant marker remains standing at the end of it, whether you went to college or straight into the workforce. Mission: get a job. Send applications, get rejected. Send more applications. Get ghosted by a company that took 4 interviews to decide they went with another candidate. Finally, someone says yes. Huge dopamine hit. Mission complete. You update LinkedIn. People you haven't spoken to since 2019 like your post. It feels for about 6 hours like you've won the entire game. Then Monday morning actually arrives, and then another marker just appears. Mission: get promoted. Nobody announced this quest. There was no cutscene, but somehow you're already running it. Here's why the empty map feels so specifically awful. And it's not really about ambition. It's about how your brain is wired to process options. Open Netflix right now, thousands of titles. Every genre, every mood, infinite freedom. So what happens? You scroll for 40 minutes, read 3 plot summaries, watch 2 trailers. Argue with your partner about whether you're in a comedy mood or a documentary mood. And then at 11:40 p.m., you give up entirely and just rewatch the same sitcom episode you've already seen 6 times. More choice didn't make you happier, it just made you tired. Somewhere in your skull, a tiny committee looked at infinite options and collectively said, actually, let's just go with the thing we already know. Now take that exact feeling, and instead of a Netflix menu, imagine the options are careers, cities, relationships, entire versions of yourself you could become. That's not a cozy Tuesday night problem anymore. That's the empty map. And here's what your brain does when there's no real marker in sight. It manufactures one. Quietly, without asking permission. You have a huge presentation due tomorrow. So naturally, tonight is the perfect night to rename every single file on your laptop. Then organize your photos from 2017. Then finally clean out that one drawer you've been ignoring for 6 years. The one with dead batteries and exactly 1 AirPod. Congratulations. You have successfully completed 3 side quests and completely ignored the main mission. That's the real psychological point hiding underneath the joke. Your brain would rather finish a meaningless quest with a clear finish line than start an important one with no obvious ending. Sometimes it doesn't even bother inventing a task. It just opens Instagram for 2 minutes, and 45 minutes evaporate into a scroll. Not because you wanted chaos, but because chaos at least feels like something is happening, which is exactly the moment things get a little darker. Because it turns out your map isn't actually empty. It's just that you didn't draw what's on it. Here's the twist. Real life isn't actually missing mission markers. It's covered in them. The problem is that almost none of them were placed there by you. Open Instagram, mission, look richer than you did yesterday. Open LinkedIn, mission, get promoted publicly with a humble brag caption. Open a fitness page, mission, get shredded by summer or you've somehow failed as a person. Open a travel page, mission, you're wasting your 20s if you're not on a beach in Bali right now. Open finance content, mission. If you're not a millionaire by 30, start panicking. And somewhere, a man who woke up at 4 a.m. to journal about discipline is explaining why your problem is that you wake up at 7. Nobody handed you a blank map. Somebody handed you a map already covered in glowing pins, and just never mentioned that none of the pins were yours. And here's the genuinely embarrassing part. You usually know these markers are ridiculous. You know that stranger on Instagram is showing you one perfectly edited second out of an entire messy day. You know LinkedIn is not a documentary. You know that 23-year-old selling a course on how to become a millionaire almost certainly became one by selling courses on how to become one. And still, the marker works, because it turns out a bad mission can feel safer than no mission at all. Your map isn't empty. It might be worse than empty. It's covered in quests you never agreed to accept, in a game you don't remember signing up to play. Let's say you actually chase one of these all the way to the end. You get the promotion. 5 years of wanting it, late nights, skipped weekends, and then it happens. Your manager says the words. You call the one person who'll actually understand what this meant. You post it. 143 people comment, "Congratulations!" Your mother sends 4 separate heart emojis across 3 different apps. For about a day, you're a main character. Then the next morning arrives. You wake up, brush your teeth, open your laptop, and somehow, unfairly, your life feels exactly the same as it did the day before you got everything you wanted. Same ceiling, same spoon in the kitchen confusion, same low hum of, okay, but now what? This isn't just an ordinary person problem either. It happens at the very top of the game too. Athletes who reach the one championship they built their whole life around. People who hit the exact number in their bank account they swore would finally make them relax. The marker gets reached and the game doesn't pause to celebrate. It just quietly renders the next one, which raises a genuinely uncomfortable question. Let's go back to you. The one following markers this whole video. Go to school, get a job, get promoted, buy a house, make more money, get fit, travel more, build a side hustle, become financially free. Marker after marker after marker, each one completing right as the next one loads in, seamlessly, like the game was never designed to let you stop and check the menu. You're not walking anymore. You're running, faster with every level, because somewhere along the way, keeping up quietly became the actual objective. And then, for just 1 second, you stop. You look up from the road. And you ask the question this entire video has been circling from the very first frame. Wait, who keeps putting these markers here? Nobody else answers. That's the unsettling part. There's no NPC to walk up to, no cutscene that explains the lore. Maybe the uncomfortable truth is that you've been acting like the player this whole time, standing still, waiting for the next objective to quietly load in. But there's no developer watching from above. Nobody is coming to design the next level for you, which means at some point you have to stop playing someone else's quest line and become the level designer instead, which is slightly annoying because apparently you don't just have to play the game, you have to build it too. And nobody ever handed you the manual for that job. So tomorrow morning, you'll wake up, same ceiling, you'll check your phone, same 47 notifications, give or take. You'll walk into the kitchen, and somehow your hand finds the same spoon. Still no idea why. There's no yellow marker floating above your head, no arrow, no quest log, no reassuring voice from somewhere above the clouds saying, "Congratulations, you're going the right way." Nothing. And maybe that's the actual terrifying part, because for the first time, you have to answer a question no game ever forced you to answer. What is actually worth doing when nobody gives you points for it? Pause. And unfortunately, there's no walkthrough for that one either.